Should I go first?
Writing about
Here.
culture or something.
Yeah, I've been kind of
depends on what you
one or
watch.
two of those that are.
It's nice to be back.
Here.
It was fun.
Yeah,
But one should come over.
but it's one,
But it has to be back to the
the
front.
non-side effect of the damn pandemic is getting that worldwide outreach to local mics
How's this?
online.
I mean, like that, other
Sacred grounds.
a little farther to the back.
Not perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I don't wanna block it.
Yeah, I think they're kind of Irish, they're sympathetic, they're really,
Possibly.
they really
I
respond.
don't really trust you guys.
They
You don't.
sent an invitation, I
Well,
would get a link or something.
Yeah, I would have them send you an invitation. Since I'm already, that'll happen in the next couple of days.
And then it's like easy to do, I just click on something or.
Yep.
That's like,
I'll send you a little
compared
guide
to mine,
on how to do it. It's relatively easy.
this is much easier to deal with.
I love those old chairs in my house.
And generally it's 3 minutes to open, but if there aren't that many people, they'll go to 5 minutes.
Alright.
Good.
Yeah. That's what it is.
I actually trust Barbara.
I know, that's what it says.
I was telling Michael that you're the most cultured person.
So
You
are
know what he
y'all
said?
kind of ready to go? What do you think?
How was her
About ready?
poker game? How's your poker game?
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Michael and Jerry from here on out, except I will say everybody promises they're totally vaxxed, right? Because I didn't check anybody. Okay. So yeah? Okay, great. Keep your mask on except when you're sipping and then put it up, you know? Keep your mask off for 5 minutes while you're holding a bottle of beer. That doesn't work. And other than that, thanks for coming. But here's the gracious people.
Do we mask while we read? or-
No, that's okay. You're
It's
back.
okay
All
right
right.
there, yeah.
So it's sipping or reading?
Yeah, so
Yeah, don't lick the microphone. while you're- Okay?
so I can be heard with the mask on, right?
Yes, yes. You have a
All right, so
voice.
to remind everyone to please keep your mask fully on, except when you're up here reading or you're having a sip of something, you can briefly have it down, that makes sense, so. Yes, group asphyxiation is the new way we socialize, but, yeah, so we're very happy tonight to have, Silvi Alcivar as our first reader. And I know she's an accomplished poet and has something called the Poetry Store, which everyone should probably check out online because you can get customized, on-demand poetry. It's a poet for hire, more or less. So, you know, this is probably reinstituting a sacred tradition from yesteryear. Because most people are something for hire, if not poets, they're something. So, anyway, so she will read first and then Judith next. So we're very delighted to have her. And so, you know, 15, 20 minutes, whatever feels organic. We don't, you know, I don't know how many people we have in the open so far. Like,
Well, there's 4 and then us.
so the time-wise, it's fairly flexible. And then the open readers too. Time-wise, we can just be very organic in how we do that. So, all right, Silvi.
Thank you. Thank you. Feels weird, I gotta say. Oh, this feels weird. Okay, I'll feel better now that I've said that. As was mentioned, I write poems for hire, and one of the things I've been doing as part of my work is creating a 365 list that is really supposed to be a poem a day. But I'm very much an artist in the way that I don't do the things I say I'm going to do, and I'm not that organized. So it's been more like a poem when I feel like it. And there's always a theme every year. This year's theme is an incomplete list. And so what I'm going to read tonight are poems from this last year's series of 365 poems. And every single poem begins, as you will hear, with an incomplete list. An incomplete list of answers to the question, if you were a color, what color would you be? Moon in daytime, first lines, bunny kiss, Egyptian bangle, waking at noon, summer bubbles, shimmering firefly, sun-ripe blackberry, bobcat yawn, fledgling wing, California winter, midnight whisper, humpback eye, summer corn, artichoke bolt, quinceañera in the snow, bee pollinating poppy, plover on Pacific shore, candlelit jack-o'-lantern, opening your heart. And if there's anyone who wants to hire me to name colors, I'm available. This is a very meta poem, an incomplete list of things to make lists of, and I refer to it when I feel like I don't have any ideas. An incomplete list of things to make lists of. Things I would not have noticed if not paying close attention. Things I did not notice because I forgot to pay attention. Things I'm ashamed I admit I do. Things I'm okay giving away. Things, looking back, were definitely a sign. Ways to tell the story. Ways to pray. Ways to say I'm sorry. Best things to come across the screen. Birds I've seen. Things I've manifested. Slightly controversial things I don't like, which was a poem I wrote and was actually very controversial. Things you're not supposed to say. Ways to compliment a stranger. Things I wish I hadn't done. What I learned from being in love. Things hidden in drawers. Things I am. Things I am not. Things I love. Ways of looking at a face. Ways of looking at a tree. Ways of looking at a hand. Ways of looking at a feeling. Ways of saying no. Ways of saying yes, ways to move your body, places to visit in dreams, places to arrive without traveling, feelings you're allowed to have, feelings you're not allowed to have, reasons to love bunnies, reasons to love yourself, strangers who affect your daily life, potentially embarrassing book titles on the shelf, different names for love, how it starts, how it ends. Thanks. An incomplete list of whispers to the pink moon. Oh, let me be finished with darkness too. These next couple of poems I wrote on meditation retreat, and one of the things I've been working with in my life is meditation. One of the things I've been working with in my poetry, as you've noticed, is a lot of repetition. Repetition for me is also a way of having mantra. It's a way of inducing a kind of mental rest, and also a reminder that when we're trying to learn something, we need to repeat it to ourselves over and over and over again in order to get it. So these poems I had to repeat to myself over and over and over again because I couldn't write things down. So here they are. An incomplete of meditations with moon. Every glimpse, day or night, I ate the moon, wishing I too could rise and set as I am meant to, cycling through light and dark, disappearing, and no matter how waning, glowing and growing full. An incomplete list of meditations with sun. Just as I began to think, the California poppy spends her entire existence trembling even in the slightest wind, but opens up to sun anyhow. Light came and said, "How can you be so sure she is not dancing?" An incomplete list that are rather impossible to do, and I highly encourage you trying the last one. Get what you want without asking for what you need. Resurrect the dead and all the love you did not receive. See yourself the way others want you to be seen. Change the weather, change the past, predict the future, frown while skipping. Really, it's kind of impossible. An incomplete list of people I barely remember. Who I was before I knew who I was. This poem was actually featured on KQED when they did a call for poetry during the pandemic, which was really cool to hear my poem on the radio. An incomplete list of things to say when someone asks, "How are you?" I am tender, enduring, looking within, okay but not okay, happy when I'm not anxious, perplexed by most of the world's ills, in love with hummingbirds, slowing down, wanting to get drunk, putting myself to bed early, incapable of sleeping a decent amount, baking cookies instead of doing work, contemplating the many ways ordinary things in ordinary life are ways to die, admiring magnolia blooms, breathing in darkness, breathing out light, worrying about the future, keeping hold of the past that's past, folding hands in prayer and opening them as encouragement for my heart, meeting possibility with wonder, afraid of COVID, befriending shame, lost in a podcast, leaving dishes in the sink, reminding myself I am beautiful, feeling connected despite it all, enjoying my own company, looking forward to a forest walk, craving cheesecake, amped up on espresso, surprised by being good, wanting salt air and wind, holding too much, looking for a place to set life down, finding an altar, grieving grief, learning a new language called now, remembering my name and your name are just another name for love. An incomplete list of things to do today. Let poetry save your life. An incomplete list of things that sort of change everything. Thinking of yourself as a lucky person, vomiting, literally or metaphorically, trusting anyone or anything, smiling when you don't want to, touching something soft or wet, brushing your teeth, feeling too cold, feeling too hot, losing power, losing faith, showering, aha-ing, lying, laughing, crying, dancing, dying. Sometimes when I walk home from my art studio, I like to listen to Padre Gotuma's on being Poetry Unbound podcast, which if you don't know, I highly recommend it. He's a genius. And admittedly, sometimes I steal little bits of lines from those poems, and poems come out, or things that he talks about. So he was talking about keeping the spirits at bay, and that's where this poem came from. An incomplete list of ways to keep the spirits at bay. Be the bee pollinating poppies, turning their bright faces towards sun. Burn the letters from lovers who couldn't say yes, you, but not this. Release your anger into sky like a bird whose broken wing you tended until it mended. Braid sweetgrass while listening to the hush of your own heart. Go to the Pacific at high tide and scream whatever you need to scream, making sure it's powered by your gut and not your mind. Sip intention from this morning's coffee. Stir prayers into the evening's soup. Hold your hand in your own hand. Feel your feet cradled by socks and protected by souls kissing the earth. Remember, mantra can be as simple as your own name. Okay, let's see. I might just read one more. Maybe two. A very short one and then a longer one. An incomplete list of today's meditation instructions. Think of your heart as a sky. An incomplete list of realizations I had yesterday. I think I found my place to die. And I don't just mean the Lost Coast, early morning where dew-cold breaths meet fog and turkey vultures sit high in trees with wings open to be warmed by sun. I don't just mean the Queen's Bath tide pool in low tide season whose water is so warm it's as if slipping into your own skin, and the colors are so unimaginable there, rainbows hide beneath the surface waiting for your snorkeled grin. I don't just mean that end of the Tamales Bay hike where the edge of earth taunts you to leap in, the thrashing Pacific cold, the vastness and beauty almost convincing you you are a cormorant or a gull and this is your place for flight. I mean that place inside where I am not I and you are not you, and we are a wordless understanding that anything worth knowing cannot be expressed except by in and out conscious breath. I mean that place where heart and mind are just the same, and the infinite touches the infinite, and life is just lifing with no beginning, no end, and if words could do justice, they would say love. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Silvi. And happy to say Judith, Bernhard, who would read next. Her most recent book is called Marriages, a Story. A story? A story, which is very insightful vignettes about intimacy that are both terrifying and amusing, usually at the same time, as relationships often are. She's a founding editor of Andover Archive Press. Andover Archive Press?
Andover Street.
Andover Street Archive Press. Is that the real Andover Street? This is not the
Yes.
apocryphal Andover Street.
The real Andover
The
Street.
real Andover Street. And she first came to my attention as a translator, but she's also an accomplished poet and, of course, a prose writer. And so, very much looking forward to hearing her tonight.
Oh. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Eric and Jerry and Michael, our favorite cultural warriors. You know, I guess today is a day that we're supposed to be mourning our country, celebrating our country. I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to be doing. But I've decided to bypass all of that and celebrate our city with you all tonight. So I've compiled a pile of poems about San Francisco. And so the first one is why San Francisco is not really part of the United States. It's October, and the frost isn't even on the pumpkin. There are spider webs, but they are not at all menacing. Here, there's nothing very scary about Halloween. Just a lot of people spoofing their own fantasies. In November, we'll celebrate Thanksgiving, but there won't be white and drifting snow, or to grandmother's house we go. Didn't we come here to get away from her? Oh, some people will have turkey, but your hip friends are just as likely to give you lamb tagine or seafood paella. In December, when the days are dark, the gloom will settle in on atheists and the devout in equal measure. Jews will smoke up their kitchens, making fried potatoes. Their alarms will go off, but nobody will pay attention. You may see Christmas trees and menorahs everywhere, but don't look for nativity scenes in civic places. I think they're illegal here. Everyone makes resolutions in the new year, but nobody attempts to keep them. After all, it's the Barbary Coast, so shut up and have another drink. This is called Two Chinatowns. 1, Grant Avenue. A procession of badly dressed tourists leads me through the Chinatown gate in pursuit of exotic bargains from the mysterious East. We are traveling in the metaphorical footsteps of Marco Polo, wondering how anything so cheap can be authentic, how 10,000 years of culture has come down to 99-cent lipstick holders and plastic mahjong tiles and wooden back scratchers and multicolored satin pouches in a multitude of configurations. Is the silk, silk, the jade, jade, the ivory, ivory? Did the woman behind the counter really miscount my change, or was that some wily Asian trick? Nevertheless, a world of inexpensive Christmas gifts is revealed in all its splendor. Will I remember to return here when the celebration of Christ's birth is upon us? This Christmas half paralyzes me with alternating sensations of greed and doubt and guilt. A couple of gaudy red and gold toy dragons seem to provide sufficient amusement for what they cost, so I buy them. No questions asked. 2. Stockton Street. A crowd of eager shoppers clutching plastic bags propels me off of the bus. Near a battered housing project that was built to look like old China. We are planning to employ thrift and sagacity to purchase the stuff of daily life, hoping to stretch our dollars to the edge of the merchant's profits. Looking for sensual fruits and vegetables and fresh fish and herbs and cooked ducks hanging by their necks in shop windows. Dried mushrooms and medicinal powders and savory stuffings wrapped in delicate noodle dough and pastries filled with bean paste. I take my place among the picky grandmothers, choosing green beans, one by one, from a pile. To hesitate is to invite a blank look or a grimace from the clerk. He tells me to make up my mind because there are plenty of people here who know what they want. This Chinatown offers no-nonsense commerce where time is money and goods are money and hard-earned money is earned hard over and over again by both buyer and seller. I take my hand-selected green beans and a big bag of baby bok choy to the cashier and pay her what she asks. It's late, and I still want to find a ripe papaya from Hawaii before I get back on the bus and go home. Here are 3 poems for Chinatown. No, I finished with Chinatown, didn't I? Here are 3 poems for North Beach, which is near Chinatown, actually. Sex sells. Come to North Beach and purchase some sex. It's a buyer's market. First, walk up Broadway and ogle the girls. They look so sweet. See your sexy sisters in skimpy clothes, smiling in the chill. See their boyfriends with icy hearts. They look so cold. Sex sells. Then go in someplace and peruse the goods. They appear real. Take a seat at the bar and buy a small drink. It seems a little weak. Take a peek at the men in this gentleman's club. They look so happy. Sex sells. Yes, come to North Beach for an erotic thrill. It's adult entertainment. Stay for the show and boost your libido. It's an erotic experience. Stay after midnight and spend every cent. You'll have a terrific time. Sex sells. How to become a literary star. It's never too late to become a star in the literary firmament of North Beach, but you will have to write some poems. You might want to study what some other people have written before you put your own pen to blank paper. Go to City Lights and buy some books by writers you've heard of like Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac, and Bob Kaufman. Read them and become inspired. Now you're ready to start writing your own poems, and you'll find it's not easy, but you must be diligent and persevere. When you've got a few poems under your belt, take them to an open reading and try them out on the crowd there. Don't be shy, and above all, don't be even a little self-effacing, because that sort of attitude won't get you anywhere. Speak up and be heard. Now you're getting somewhere, and it's time for you to begin to know other poets. So try to make a few friends. You don't have to spread money around because everybody buys their own drinks, but you'll need to listen to others' work. Find the good in whatever poems you hear, and don't be stingy with your comments or praise if you want to receive comments and praise. Be generous to everyone. When you've been at it for a while, you'll have enough poems for a chapbook or even a book, and you'll see your name in print. Don't rest on your laurels for too long, or you'll lose momentum, so you better get out there and read the poems to sell the book. When everyone in North Beach has heard your work and they've all seen your book, then you'll be a star in North Beach. That's it. You can do it. And the last one is eating in North Beach. As you walk up Broadway in the mild late afternoon air, a good-looking young man with fine features and curly hair may speak to you. He will probably say, "Buona sera." If you say "Buona sera," he will favor you with a radiant smile. Then he will invite you, in English, to enter the restaurant in whose doorway he is standing. If you go inside, he will hand you over to some equally breathtakingly charming and good-looking person. This person will probably also say, "Buona sera," give you a menu, and suggest you have a glass of wine. If you have a glass of wine, it will surely cause your mood to lighten, and you will read the menu with pleasure. You'll order a specialty of the house and eat it under the watchful eye of a third charming, good-looking person. The food will be great, but when the bill arrives, you won't believe how much you've just spent on a plate of spaghetti and a glass of wine. I think I'll make this one the last one. Have I gone too far? Well, all right.
Read it all.
I don't know what to do here.
Read it all.
All right. San Francisco, city of poets. A fair-haired poet sat at her desk and wondered why. Our city is clanging and ringing with the noise of construction, but a lot of people don't have places to live. A bald-headed poet walked by a restaurant and thought, the streets are lined with fine dining establishments, but a lot of people don't have enough to eat. A poet in pigtails saw a bus carrying techies and said to herself, these workers travel in comfort to their high-paying jobs, but a lot of people don't have ways to earn money. A curly-headed poet called a friend to wish her well and told her, I'm glad you found a nice room in somebody's house, but a lot of people can't find ways to stay here. And they all wrote poems about what they saw and felt. But it's not enough. For the fair-haired poet to read her poem to the bald-headed poet, or the poet in pigtails to applaud the work of the curly-headed poet. Poets of San Francisco, you have to quit talking only to each other. Begin to think about what steps you can take to change. Speak up in places other than the usual safe havens for poetry. Challenge everyone you know to work toward building community. Invest your own time and resources into things that will make a difference. Give of yourself, not only with words. Do something. I think this is the best one. See how you like it. This poem is like our city. The aromas of Chinese food and hamburgers on a grill and pintos and carnitas for burritos mingling in the sea salt air. New signs for new businesses hanging alongside the old signs for the old businesses, which are rusting at the hinges. Remodeled Victorians with exorbitant paint jobs, real gold trim. No winter and no summer, only wet and dry, rain or no rain. Wear the same Halloween-colored baseball team logo jacket all year long. Everybody from the well-heeled to the unhealed is doing it. Poets and pretend poets scribble away the days in the plentiful cafes. Bus lanes, bike lanes, 15 cab companies and smart cars summoned from smartphones, and 65,000 places to have brunch on Sunday. Scholars with books in their backpacks and drug addicts on the nod, and roly-poly Russian women barking into their cell phones. Dog walkers with 7 little dogs on 7 little leashes, and blonde women in sports togs playing with their dogs on bay and ocean beaches. Surfers with shoulders as wide as the wings of an albatross. Buses like time machines carrying tourists to the summer of love. See the runaway children sleeping in the park. Buy a tie-dyed t-shirt for a lark. Grown men holding hands. Girls in white satin and red dresses. Boys in white satin and red dresses. More bars than churches. More churches than gas stations. Drying laundry strung between buildings. And people, black and brown and white and gay and straight, mingling in the sea salt air. This poem is like our city. And finally, what is this? A call to arms? A city is the people. It's not about the tall buildings with their opaque windows reflecting other tall buildings. It's not about the stadiums full of overpriced seats or the auditoriums for the culturally elite. And it's certainly not about the restaurants that go in and out of fashion. A city is the people. Who washes the windows in the tall buildings? Who puts on the shows in the auditoriums? Who makes the food in the fancy restaurants? A city is the people. When the cracked and worn-out streets are littered with the detritus of commerce, when the old neighborhoods are emptied of every kind of artists, when the beleaguered working class have to leave their family homes to make a living, who will do the work? Who will paint the murals on empty walls? Who will write poems giving voice to our desires? Who will teach the children how to dance? Who will deliver hope to the needy? Don't let them fool you. Don't let them isolate you. Don't let them make you believe you're not worthy. You are the city. It is your place, your home. The city is you. You are the people. A city is the people. Thank you. Thank you.
Judith, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Silvi, Judith, beautiful, very nice. Very beautiful. We're going to take a silent break. So I guess we'll take a 5-minute break. Jerry will preside over the open reading section of things. And the fun has just begun. That's the good news. Thanks.
Well, not badly. What about you? You doing any music? A little bit. I know, like that. That's not a coincidence. Why is that? Well, because if you haven't seen me, I haven't seen you. Unless I might smile you out of the window. Yeah, I was still doing journalism.
we've got a little bit of time here, so folks, and Michael's gonna read for us first. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just read, I think, a single poem maybe to start off. Yay! So this is called The Horse, a History. The pre-horses, small and tasty, ran and ran and ran, losing extraneous toes, wetting their mouse-colored manes, falling into the hands of Hittites, springing from the blood of mares, peering from escutcheons, hauling sun gods, cantering, playing polo, gracing the Parthenon in tout sheets, risking fetlock and withers in jousts, plowing and fox hunting. Some, under 58 inches in height, were called ponies. Others, the result of mating, were mules, or in the case of genetic tampering, zebras. Sometimes a crippled pinto with red saddle and Andalusian eyes comes unglued in a dream. Among the great writers are Geronimo, Godiva, Willie Shoemaker, and Francisco Pancho Villa. The din of horses' hooves is especially notorious in the reveries of generals, jockeys, gauchos, virgins, and domestic dogs. And of course, I'll remind everyone, since it's kind of in the air now, the horses, the worms, the ants, ourselves, all of us, we are inextricably linked, for better or for worse. So let that be a lesson for you. Yeah. All right. Jerry, who's next?
Me.
Oh, man. Starting with the heavy artillery here.
Do I get to stand up?
If you must.
Whoa. Oops. Can I hear myself? No.
Don't tilt it down. It has to be up.
Can I hear myself?
I can hear you.
I can't hear me. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Judy, I have a San Francisco poem myself.
All right.
And I am a native San Franciscan. Not a a lonely or anything like that.
Not all alone?
All alone, maybe, yeah. I got 3 poems. A new one, and then two older ones. This is Indian Winter, San Francisco, 2021-22. I look skyward as I walk through the old neighborhood of my youth, for the stars are speaking to me again. 2 big, bright, beautiful lamps with lots of personality, obscuring the light of all the other stars tonight. Their silent laughter wrapped in foggy mystery, reminding me of how it used to be back in the day, in old Baghdad by the bay, city that knows how. As Indian summer in September turns to Indian winter in November, gift of the weather gods, a display of nature's power and wisdom, just for fun, just for me, and for my poetry. Blessing our fair city, this haven of cultural diversity and political activism, sanctuary for the poor immigrant, victims of unjust war, poverty, oppression, and violence, shining city of the West Coast, in whose intellectual climate all the critical issues of our day may be resolved. And we poets too, the true legislators, are just passing through, joining a procession of ancestors with all the suffering and ecstasy on their faces, all the tragedy and humor, passing the torch of passion and prophecy to a new generation. And just like us, they will say, eat, drink, and be merry, as the oldest known poem in the world bids us do, wisdom of the winemaker's wife in the Gilgamesh, from a time when ordinary people understood the meaning of life. And San Francisco still fits the bill, for hanging out is truly an art and profession here, despite all the laptops and strange absence of conversation. And don't tell me there's no money in poetry. It's called SSI. Luck, luck of a charmed existence. Why, I never had to work a day in my life or go anywhere for amusement other than my native city of never-ending renaissance. Nowhere else but here in this gay frontier could we accommodate such wonders as the Golden Gate and an ever-looming epic earthquake, and yet remain a wild and crazy place, a major international port and center of commerce. No other city offers every kind of culture and ethnicity, every kind of art and entertainment, every kind of freak and eccentric character on its streets, bastion of free love in the hippy-dippy days, the liberal arts and radical free thought, famous for its international cuisine. So bring a healthy appetite for adventure and lots of cheer. Abandon all your inhibitions, ye who enter here. Okay, I've got a couple more, but maybe we'll just kind of mosey through the list a little bit and see what everybody else has got to say. And we'll start with Claire.
Hey, I'm reading a piece called Percy Jones, and it is dedicated to all the innocent people on death row. It's actually dedicated to all of them because capital punishment isn't about your crime, it's about the lawyer you can afford. There's no wealthy people on death row. Percy Jones. Percy Jones is a rat-faced, no-good son of a bitch. He's the type of guy when you see him walking towards you, you cross to the other side of the street. If you're at the bar and Percy Jones walks through the door, you leave your bourbon unfinished and hightail it out the back way. He is the man that parents have on their minds when they warn their children about talking to strangers. Percy Jones has never done a good deed in his whole life, and I pray that he lives to a ripe old age. When Percy Jones was a child, he hung his sister's cat by the tail on the clothesline. The neighbors had to keep their dogs inside because Percy Jones would attach firecrackers to their collars. He was known to break into houses, not to rob, but to smear feces on the walls. Percy Jones doesn't have a kind cell in his body, and I hope, achingly hope, I will never hear of him taking his last breath. It was no surprise to say that Percy Jones wasn't a successful student. In high school, he refused to attend class and with a raging fist roamed the hallway, bashing lockers. Frightened and shamed students, terrified of crossing his path, were known to wet themselves rather than risk walking the hallways to the bathroom. Cruelty runs fast and potent through his veins, but my passion for the life of Percy Jones rivals the passion for all my loved ones put together. Percy Jones has never married or had a girlfriend. His face is as ugly as his soul. Even when he's flashing ill-begotten bills, women buy their own drugs, drink their own drinks. But he has still fathered children with women who, with whiskey-soaked brains or meth-infused systems, were at the wrong place in the wrong time. No mother, however, has destroyed her child's happiness and well-being by telling him that he is the spawn of Percy Jones. He is cruel and despicable, and I pray to God every hour of the day to spare the life of Percy Jones. Though they've never met him, protesters gather outside, singing hymns and carrying signs to protect the life of Percy Jones. Catholic priests with crooked collars and bad comb-overs passionately preach to their congregation, urging them to pray to stave off his death. But no one prays as hard and fervently as I do, begging God for Percy Jones to awaken tomorrow with a long life stretched ahead of him. As I sit in my 8x10 room with the putrid, broken stainless steel toilet in the corner, I am told that his day has come. As I sit in my 8x10 put there by mistaken eyewitness and an incompetent Vicodin-glazed public defender, I know that Percy Jones is eating his last meal of Slim Jims and Dr. Pepper. And as I sit in my 8x10 filled with piles of rejected appeals and innocent project letters, I know they're wheeling the gurney of Percy Jones down the hallway and into the chamber. As I sit with my 8x10 whose cold and indifferent walls will surround me for the rest of my life, I know they are slipping the needle that will send Percy Jones to the fiery embrace of hell. And as I sit in my 8x10... As I sit in my 8x10 that extinguishes dreams and harbors only bitterness, I know that I am next. Next in line to that rat-faced, no-good son of a bitch, Percy Jones.
Thank you, Claire. And then the long-lost Jeff Kalitz. When have you last read here, Jeff?
Gee, I can't remember, Jerry.
Condemned to repeat yourself.
Yeah, time is relative anyway. Although it's a little bit more relevant for me because my birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, so you're not even here yet.
Yes, but I'm becoming. So I actually have a couple of poems from this first week of the year, and I am so happy to be in the flesh, three-dimensional, with you, Jerry, and Michael, and Eric, who makes email worthwhile. Rereading any of Eric's announcements of the many beautiful things that go on here, either in the flesh as we are, or virtually streaming, is the reason to have Yahoo or whatever mail program you've got. His stuff is magnificent, reflecting this beautiful place where we all are. So the first poem is for my son, whom we dropped off at the airport on Tuesday for him to fly back to Washington, D.C. The poem actually harkens back to his graduation 6 months ago. It's called Itinerary.
He graduated here?
No, he graduated from Georgetown.
Georgetown, wow.
Yeah, D.C. What can I see from where I am myself? Booked to sightsee what my life has moved to, towards where my other flesh and blood is heading. He, ritualed and brighted, capped and gowned, walking what I gave him, grown with what he's gathered, what unwinds from genetic code, played out in separate purpose, not knowing what or where or when, nor how long it can be held in common. So the love's a laugh for now at how we happened and what looks like, likes like, sounds like, as we share alike, we make our lives familiar. That's for Nick. And this poem is a birthday card to me. So I get to put myself in the second person. It's called Chronoscape. Driven through the snow-slopped city streets of Brooklyn and admitted to Bethel Hospital in the tropical warmth of Mommy's womb, you came out and back home with her to that steam-heated January walk-up, made something squeezed into smiles, a sourcing of small, round joy to burble and be bragged about to her lipstick sisters and smoky brothers-in-law, summoned from weekends of satyrs and socialism to view the babe born in this wintry borough. Far north of the East River, on the coast of eastern Maine, colored leaves crackled the quiet of a small-town avenue while you and your friends giggled your ways through kindergarten. You shared sneezes and scratches and messy sandwiches among pungent Allisons and Butches and Janies and Bobbies, running on through arithmetic to recess on the knee-skinning stony fields of May. Moving on longer legs to old spicy patterned waltz lessons at the Y, thinking, how do we hold? How do we listen? And after later last dances and extracurricular lessons from D.H. Lawrence, sweaty held hands swinging along the shore path, lulled by near eternal water, looking for new and dark and dusky private places to squeeze and be squeezed. There were many stacked dormitory rooms on crowded and scheduled campuses, many rented apartments with strewn underwear, some of it hers or yours, floating on flows of fortune through seasons of past due notices, here and there, with you and her, catching the bus, making the plane, grasping greetings, stroking surrenders, guessing what good should be, and how to keep it coming, dancing till death do you part. But now, in a far time and place, on a well-respected boulevard, you turn on a private light and peek through your ample wardrobe and sleep through frequent flyer miles towards reunions with Allison and Bobby to share selfies of you and the grandkids, while memories of Mommy chaperone your seniority. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Jeff Caleb. And next we have Janine Witkin. Genie.
Hi everybody, I'm Genie, and to give you a small piece of context, I'm almost done single parenting 2 sets of twins.
Wow.
Should we
Two.
put that mic down a little bit so they can see you? I'll do that. Might as well.
So that's 4 total.
That's 4
Wow.
total.
That's a lot. And then we'll sort of maybe tilt it this way so that it's still pointed at you. I think that'd be better.
Is that good?
I think that'd be good.
Once upon a time, I knew where everything was. It wasn't all perfect, but it was mine. Sense of adventure, useful for backtracking trips and rock climbing. Fears stowed under the blanket. Giddiness and silliness expressed through a love of Winnie the Pooh and laughing with friends. Writing filled much of my empty spaces. My cat was my child, and the landscape was familiar. Comfortable, if a bit too dark sometimes. Then the children came, finally. They came after much coaxing and pleading and expense and loss. They came first doubly and then exponentially. And I was thrilled. I welcomed them with open arms and leaking breasts, shared my bed and my blankets. I followed them to Totland and music together, soccer and gymnastics, math club and Hebrew school, but they didn't follow me. Unable to belay me safely up the rock face, unwilling to poop in the woods, and so canceling every possible backpacking trip for the next 20 years. Astoundingly, incomprehensibly, unappreciative of Winnie the Pooh, unfazed by my fears. Yet they took every second and ounce of my attention, from leaky diapers to school tours, mysterious hives and broken bones, oh, so many. Art projects, popcorn, sleepovers, squabbles, awards, accomplishments, I was required for every one, the scraped knee necessitating the same level of scrutiny and appreciation as the solo dance performance. And then they left. Oh, it wasn't as abrupt as all that. There were warning signs. The small horizontal marks on the bathroom door reaching higher and higher. The babysitting jobs, the extended outings with friends. It's not like they hid those college acceptances from me. And yet it still feels sudden from my side. The empty beds, my empty breasts, both equally disconcerting, though surely I should be used to my smaller bra cup size by now. The cleaned kitchen remains clean, a feat unattained for the previous 20 years. And so laboriously I unearth my rock climbing harness and dust it off, only to find it no longer encircles my widening waistline. I reach out to old friends and realize that some stopped breathing years ago or have moved or become computer technicians. The cats have been demoted from children to furry producers of unappealing cat pee, cat poop, cat vomit. I find I now prefer the streamlined and undemanding snake. My fears seem smaller and to have mutated. How can old nightmares compare to the rigors of raising 4 children single-handedly? And so at last I pull out pen and paper, my old standbys when it comes to empty spaces and introspection. I have need of them now, and time and space. I clear off my desk, sit down, and begin. Once upon a time.
Okay, Genie. All right. Alice Rogoff.
Well, I didn't mean to come with poems about San Francisco. I was trying to find poems about bells for another Sacred Grounds open mic, but here they are. Pilgrimage. From shrine to shrine, the Geary bus feathers through the fog. Much colder on 10th Avenue than in the Mission. The ocean is close. Through tunnels, the view of the park. Green lilies in the pond outside the art museum. Koi and Buddha. The statues dance. The bridge in the tea garden dances. Has arms, has the line of a smooth body, dances. Hot tea steeped in silence. Fog, soothing fog. The next bus climbs out of the fog. The cathedral is on a hill, a walk to arrive. Bells and the bright colored glass are the boundaries of the fog world, swirling within the high ceilings. Bells of iron, then silence. And this is called When I First Moved to San Francisco. For a little while, I was a Hyde Street person, my first apartment living over the cable car, dreaming above the blue glow of the San Francisco Bay. Messages flew in through the windows telling me how I could grow up and be a whole person on Market Street, on Grant Street, on Mission Street, on all the streets of San Francisco I learned to walk. I walked to the employment office in Chinatown and bought plates on Polk Street.
I could dance with poets and turn around corners on a cable car. I wore white tights, then stockings, riding the California cable car to downtown offices on Market Street and drank wine under the moon. The Coffee Gallery guitarist still sang on Grant Street. I had 3 bay windows to view the world. I lived above the High Street cable car. Did I understand? It was because not everyone can commune with a bell. And let's see, this one is San Francisco. Bells ring, waking me always. I walk through the past, the sound between the bells make. On murals, colors scream. People on street corners demonstrating with banners and flags. Free Chile, the banners have said, weeping. Nature forms the city, sand dunes under the park slide away, culminating in the beach, the ocean stretching from there to Japan. I hear these ringings and slidings and screamings. They wake me, they wake, always. And if I have time, I wanted to read something by John Donne. For whom the bell tolls. No man is an island entire of itself. Each is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod is washed away by the sea, Europe is, and everywhere else, is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of thine own or of thine friends were. Each man's death diminishes me, for I am involved in mankind and womankind. Therefore, send not to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee.
I have two more poems I want to read. I think I read this last month, but
Let's put that mic a little higher for you. I'll do it. I'll do it.
this is called Kosher Turkey. Recently, I saw some domestic turkeys. They seemed very happy, though of course they didn't know what was in store for them. But then neither do we, even if we are, for the moment, a top dog on the planet. But we are what we eat, and what we are is meat. That's the neat thing about the food chain. There's always room at the top. And that's why Abraham gladly cut the lamb's throat, while poor innocent Isaac wondered all his life why the voice of the angel who had intervened on his behalf sounded curiously like his favorite uncle Harry, who probably staged the whole thing anyway. He was that kind of guy, always with a joke or prank up his sleeve. Anyway, the turkeys probably don't get it. But it has to be done properly, in the right spirit, in the purity of that moment, or throw it to the dogs. For the source of nourishment itself is without pity or sentiment, even for the turkeys, even for us. Here's this last one called Epiphany by the Sea. I had some glasses, but I guess I don't need them. For I am the flowery, big boy now, making my rounds with my bucket of sounds, selling my spells of cockles and mussels, and they are alive. Oh, they are alive. Behold, the fully unfolded form of a giant lobster I offer here to the great white-headed eagle from above, who takes only the head. But lo, our live ad hoc magic medicine show also removes the head of the owl who watches from the wings, from the stark white shadows of these things that say now we see by the dawn's early light, where destiny has dealt a triple sign, and from the purple heavens hang above the crossroads where I sang a chariot of cloud, a woman by the sea all in white, and the wise high priestess, keeper of mysteries, how the sea brings forth its hidden treasure, two halves of a broken coin that fit together perfectly, for the source of life is forever a miracle, a gift from the sea. Be your own best friend. See yourself in everyone, in everything. Be the opposite of fear, a chalice of loving kindness. Share even the shadows of your dream. Leap from the sea and sing. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Judy, Silvi. Wonderful reading. That was both of you guys, yeah. I liked all this stuff about San Francisco, you know. It's great, yeah. And so, okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Eric. Keith, everybody. Okay. Be safe. Be normal.
What's doing? Be normal.
Let the world get normal again.
You know what I mean.
You don't know what you got until you lose it.
Did you have a good time?
Byron. One announcement.
Hey, folks, wait a sec. Hold it a sec. Michael, hold it a sec. Michael, hold it a sec.
Okay, Byron. When's your thing? Speak.
February 17th.
Okay, February 17th, a
Sunday?
Uh,
No, it's Thursday. Thursday. That's just like a Thursday, yeah.
okay, and Byron's going to be reading from your book.
Correct.
All right, okay,
And interviewed with Robert Anderson.
and with Robert Anderson.
Here?
It'll be here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Important detail.
take note. Take note. All right.
Same time.
Check it out on the website.
Did you go
Dave,
online?
that mask on.
All right.
All right. Thanks for the plug.
Yeah.
Okay. April got the games. There you go.
Look at that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can put a bucket out. All right, so there's another thing we usually do is put out a little bucket. If you got a buck or two in your pocket, you can add it to the tiny honorarium. We're able to pay the poets. So I'll put that by the front door. Just if you feel really generous and rich.
have an honorarium.
Oh my God, you're on a roll, all right.
Where is that bucket? I need a bucket. Hold it.
Get the poets by all means.
Yeah.
The bucket up there. When you get to it.
What is this for?
Which means we're as good as the musicians.
That's right. Yeah. So this bucket will go that into the room.
Okay.
That gives you plenty of
I
time
don't
to
even remember.
show off. He's got you with the money.
How you doing, Elizabeth?
Yeah. Well, he just wanted to.
Really?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I have to tell you,
No, no kidding.
yeah.
I remember you were working.
Craft. I mean, she's out. I'm sure. Yeah. So I bought a piece of.
Jerry, we should always remind people the first Thursday of the month, so keep that in mind, folks.
It's got all the
Matter of fact, who's Nick,
work,
well,
like crazy.
I don't even know who's Jessica or somebody.
And it just,
It's not the same by any means, but it's just, I couldn't, I was just mesmerized by it, and it's like, you know, it's got, and then it's just like, phrases and they kind of go, broken glass and some mirrors and, you know, and but it was just, because it was so much fun. You know, what were we talking about that? Oh, wait, no, it was really, really very interesting. So you put those up on Facebook?
Instagram and Facebook, yeah, on my poetry store page.
Oh,
Yeah, the business page. Are you on Facebook?
There's a book.
I don't do it, look at it much, but you know,
Yeah.
I go there and,
Yeah, sure.
okay.
There's a poetry.
Actually, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not the poetry store on
Yeah.
Facebook anymore.
It's called
my
Fun
name,
and
What's your name?
but it's a new
Thank you,
typo.
Alice.
Okay.
That's a
Oh,
good
yeah,
show.
yeah, I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was like ALC, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no, that was really,
Yeah, I mean, I haven't posted one in like 2 years.
well, it's because it's
posted
unfinished.
Sorry, that's not.
365, that's a lot.
But why don't I do 100 at a time? It's so much more doable. 365 and I'm always behind.
Right. Ooh, I gotta do another one today.
Always.
Those were so fun to do. Yeah, really.
Sylvie,
So great.
are you gonna talk to me?
Oh yeah, I just want to see if Adrian's leaving or not.
Okay.
But I'll come back.
This was awesome. Yeah, no, those were great. Those were excellent. But no, it was good.
I'm glad. Thank you.